Kung Fu Panda is a masterpiece. It is by far one of the best kids movies to come out in recent years. A lot of movies have come out that have been pretty good. Things like Into the Spider-Verse, No, but for real, there's been a lot of good movies to come out kids-wise, but none of them have felt as important as Kung Fu Panda had. With the fourth movie coming along, I decided that now's a really good time to take a look back at the original Kung Fu Panda. See what they can improve upon going into this fourth movie. But I'm not doing this alone. I have two very special guests with me today to help me figure out how good this movie truly is. The first person we're gonna hear from is none other than my good friend, Sam K.
Kung Fu Panda is an amazing film. Hello, I am Sam K. I could not be happier to be a part of this movie review where we talk about Kung Fu Panda, which is an amazing film. I do really like this movie a lot. I watched it a ton as a kid, and it came out in 2008, which is almost 15 years ago at this point. But even today, the voice acting, the animation, the humor, all of it is still on point. When you think about this movie, it's called Kung Fu Panda. This could easily, be something silly from DreamWorks. There's The Boss Baby, and that's just like a silly comedy. Kung Fu Panda kind of has like a similar title to that, but it's actually a very good movie.
Also joining me here, making his return to the movie reviews, please welcome back none other than Joshua Hickey's Movie Reviews.
Kung Fu Panda is another fun and mostly solid entry to the DreamWorks animation library. Jack Black finally gets his time to shine in the DreamWorks film after the disaster that was Shark Tale.
Are you not entertained?
I understood that reference.
You can't handle the truth!
I understood.
You had me at hello!
Black is actually given humorous material to work with this time around, and does a great job. The animation is also well done, with some very fast-paced martial arts sequences and great scene lighting.
It's been quite a while since the last movie review, so without further ado, let's get this started. But before we do all that, please make sure to subscribe if you do enjoy this video. Now we can get started. My first note has to deal with the casting of characters. Poe is one of the best casting decisions I've ever seen. Jack Black as Poe is phenomenal.
He's known for his comedy stuff, but he's also pretty good with more light-hearted roles, even some dramatic roles, and he's good at voice acting, as this movie shows. I could not think of a better voice for Poe the Panda.
Nobody thought the guy from Shallow Hal was going to be a good voice actor. He brings this little geeky personality to Poe. It's also very endearing.
There's Dustin Hoffman. He plays Master Shifu. I think his voice is very good for that character. There's Oogway, Mantis, Tigress, Monkey, Crane. They're all great.
Angelina Jolie as Tigress, nothing special. Jackie Chan as Monkey is extremely forgettable. Seth Rogen as Mantis doesn't matter. David Cross as Crane, also just forgettable. And I don't even know the casting for Snake. The soundtrack of this movie also kicks ass too. The movie begins with an extremely creative opening logo. We then cut to Poe's dream, which is done in this really nice style of animation, which I wish they did more of in this movie, but they will go back to this in future movies.
Mouth was full. Then he swallowed. Ah, gay!
After Poe wakes up, we get a glimpse of what his actual life is like, working at a noodle shop and living on the top floor. I have a lot of questions about this opening scene. Who is in charge of the merchandising for this palace? You got posters, you have action figures, and I wonder why they even need merchandising. This is the equivalent of making action figures for local police officers. Look how many fucking bowls are in his room. I don't know if these are dirty, I don't know if this is a storage area, but when I first saw that shit looks nasty. Do some dishes, Poe. And if he is in a storage area, that's just sad. Poe's bed is fucked. I'm surprised that they had a bed for him. From here on out, the message of the movie becomes very clear.
The film does feel a bit too familiar plot-wise, as it is essentially the hero's journey story, and feels very reminiscent of other films, like the original Star Wars and The Karate Kid. The main character is stuck in a situation he does not want to be. His mentor dresses in all brown, is a wise old green character just like Yoda. And the villain is, of course, the former protege of the main character's master, who turned to the dark side after being denied power.
And as much as I love Poe, I think my favorite character in this movie has to be Poe's dad. He's Mr. Ping. He runs the noodle shop. Mr. Ping is probably one of the greatest characters in the history of fiction. Really, this movie brings back a lot of nostalgia for me. There's the scene in the noodle shop where Poe has the noodle dream. Mr. Ping is very excited for that.
After talking to his dad about a noodle dream, his dad just dismisses him and says that Poe should be working in the noodle shop. Poe's excited because the Dragon Warrior is being chosen today. So the Shea Palace is having a huge festivities to celebrate this. This is like electing a fucking police chief. Poe's dad gives him a mobile noodle mobile, which is already fucked to begin with. How the hell is he supposed to cook in that thing? Shea Palace needs to invest in an elevator. My god. After Poe tries to drag that mobile noodle cart up the stairs, he says fuck it and leaves his noodle cart there unattended to go see who becomes the Dragon Warrior. His dad's gonna be pissed. Poe makes it up the stairs, but just before he can get inside, they shut the door on him.
I also really like the scene where Poe, of course, sneaks his way into the Dragon Warrior arena. That is how he is actually eventually chosen. So that's a very pivotal scene in the Kung Fu Panda franchise.
The most unbelievable part of this whole montage of him trying to break into the palace is the fact that this fat ass can do a pull-up. Also, let's talk about the five real quick. They're usually just punching bags for Poe's villains, which also makes me question Shifu's teaching abilities. Cause you've had, what, 7 students now total, and only one of them is good? You suck as a teacher. Anyway, Poe manages to get in through some fireworks shenanigans, and he survives a long-ass fall due to reasons they won't explain in this movie, just in time for Oogway to point his finger at him and declare him the Dragon Warrior. Now I say this next part knowing what happens in the third movie. Oogway is a dick in this movie. He's just an old bastard who wants to move on with his life and is super unhelpful to everybody else. Why didn't Oogway inform somebody like Shifu, his right-hand man, what was happening? Instead he likes to speak in fortune cookie riddles.
There are no accidents.
Anyway, the town celebrates Poe. Yippee, and we get to cut to a prison where we see our main antagonist for the movie. Arguably the worst antagonist of the trilogy. Being the worst Kung Fu Panda villain is like being the worst Godfather movie. There's not exactly a bad Godfather movie, but there is a worst one. Tai Lung always feels like a badass until the end. 1,000 guards for one man, and the guard gives the most obvious foreshadowing ever.
Escape from Chorgum Prison is impossible.
Gee, I wonder if that will bite him in the ass later. We then get to see Poe's first day of training, and predictably Poe gets his ass kicked. They also like to casually bully Poe about being fat, and then we get to see arguably the best scene in the entire movie.
Tai Lung actually escapes his prison. Kind of deals with like a feather that he uses to unlock his handcuffs, and he knocks out all the guards and throws them all around. Very well done scene.
It takes one fucking feather and this asshole can break himself out of prison. You make this guy look like a goddamn genius. I don't care what Poe learns. He should have lost. It's a shame that they undo this work later. If you haven't seen this scene, I recommend you check this out. Meanwhile, the continued training of Poe isn't going very well for Poe, as Shifu is literally trying to murder him. Seriously, how the hell did Shifu get hired? I think Shifu also gives a little backstory on Tai Lung as well, seeing that he just found him as a baby. At least when Poe got abandoned, it was for a good reason. How many other abandoned kids are there in this town? The backstory shows Tai Lung was getting a bit too greedy about becoming the Dragon Warrior, and then Oogway typed a phone password on his stomach and nope, he's in prison. After being an unhelpful dick for the last 15 minutes of the movie, Oogway decides to dip out. Shifu's begging, pleading for Oogway to help, and he just goes, no. Like seriously, before you go, Oogway, you might as well like just wait there and do it again. We've already seen you defeat Tai Lung. But no, his time was now. We get to see a little bit of dinner between the five and Poe, as Poe is making fun of Shifu. Shifu tells the other that Oogway is now dead, rip, and the five decide to take matters into their own hands, which we're about to find out is a horrible idea. The next day, Shifu takes Poe under his wing. The montage is pretty cool. It's nice to see actual development between Shifu and Poe. And Poe, while he's not perfect, he's actually learning something and developing. This all culminates with a beautiful fight over dumplings, with a little bit of development in his character. Poe says, I'm not hungry. A nice little subtle line there. It feels like there's a lot of different dialogue in this movie that's like that, where it's just subtle. Now we get to the fight between Tai Lung and the five.
I will say that some of the characterization for some of the characters, namely Tai Lung and Tigress, it's a bit one note. I think Tigress and the rest of the Furious Five members, they don't have too much to do in this movie. It'd be nice if maybe their characterizations was just, a little bit stronger, but still, I think it's pretty good.
This fight's pretty awesome too, taking place only on a bridge. We get to watch Tigress take on Tai Lung first, and eventually all of them jump in to take down Tai Lung, except for Mantis, who single-handedly holds the entire thing on his own, which, how the fuck does that happen? Like, I feel like Monkey should have been the one to hold the bridge. Anyway, Tai Lung bodies these five idiots, and for some reason he doesn't kill them. Like, you were perfectly fine with destroying all those people in the prison. At the very least, you could have killed 4 of them and left one of them to tell the tale. I'm very confused conflicted about how I feel about this fight, because in one hand it builds up Tai Lung better and makes him even more of a threat going into the finale, but on the other hand it makes the Five look like a bunch of bitches. Although this does make Tai Lung look pretty strong, I think this fight was more of a negative than anything. Honestly, the Five isn't much of a threat at all in this entire series. I feel like every single Kung Fu master who goes up against the Five beats the Five. The Five get returned by what I believe was a crane. We learn a little bit about the Dragon Scroll before Tai Lung shows up. Nothing's there. Who made the Dragon Scroll? Even after death, Ugo is still a dick, because he let these people believe that there's something important in the Dragon Scroll, which could have easily just been a pep talk, let's be honest. Po tries to run away from the village to get people out. I wish they did the reveal with Tai Lung instead of showing it early. That way we could actually feel like he's getting something important.
Hey, Dad. Sometimes I can't believe I'm actually your son.
Does Po not know he's adopted? I feel like that was a fucking dead giveaway, right? Tai Lung fights Shifu, kicks his ass, and goes to take the Dragon Scroll. Po comes, and they have a little brawl over the Dragon Scroll, which takes them through the entire city, which I do enjoy this fight too. It's got some creative callback, like the dumpling scene and the fireworks from the beginning.
And of course, the movie ends with a big showdown between Tai Lung and Po. Of course, everyone knows how that scene goes down. He has the whooshy finger holds. He says skadoosh. But, I mean, it's a classic scene for a reason. Great way to end the movie, and a pretty good little fight scene too.
Everybody else got this like showcase against Tai Lung. Po just destroys him. All that work, setting him up from the prison. Tai Lung beating everybody else up there. Defeating the Five with ease. Beating Shifu just for him to get beat by Po in less than 2 minutes. 2 fucking minutes. It took Po 2 minutes to beat Tai Lung. It wasn't even close. Po used him like a goddamn paddle ball. He laughed in your face as he punched you. This is why I think he's the weakest one, because the difference between Tai Lung and the other two villains is that the third villain has fucking physical strength. For the second movie, that villain uses psychological warfare, which actually seems like it works. Tai Lung did all this shit talking just to lose in 2 minutes. The town's happy. Po gets to live out his dream as a kung fu master. The end. This was a crazy movie. The actual art design looks incredible, and this movie is definitely a top contender. I think I'll give my rating of this movie first. For this movie, it's a very tough call for me, but I think I'll give this an 8 out of 10. I feel like there's so much about this movie to enjoy. Everything feels well and balanced, but man, there are some things that are holding this movie down for sure. As for King of the Hill, for those of you that don't know what King of the Hill is, it's where I rank the best movie that I have covered so far, and I pin it up against the movie that I'm currently reviewing, and I decide what the best movie is. My current King of the Hill and best movie that I've covered is Kingsman Secret Service. Kingsman will still remain King of the Hill, and here's why. Kung Fu Panda was a borderline 8 out of 10 for me because of all the stuff that it did to Tai Lung. I think it's a great movie, but Kingsman, I think, is just a league above it. Is there anything else you two gentlemen want to add?
The film does have a fair amount of humor, most of it slapstick, and well-written dialogue that is thought-provoking. Even if its story is familiar, Kung Fu Panda is still worth checking out. Overall, I would give Kung Fu Panda a B, an 8 out of 10, and a 4 out of 5 stars.
Overall, I think this movie is actually very good. Even by today's standards, I think it's still a very solid movie that kids can enjoy and adults can enjoy. I'm going to be honest, when Kung Fu Panda 4 drops, I'm going to be there day one. I'm going to have to give this an 8 out of 10. I'm feeling generous, but I do really enjoy this movie. Thanks a lot for having me on to help review Kung Fu Panda. I recommended that you review it just a couple months ago, and now here I am, a part of the review. Amazing.
Make sure to subscribe to the channel and check out any other movie reviews. Let me know what type of movies you guys want me to do. The next movie I will be covering is Happy Death Day. Make sure to join our Discord. We have an Instagram where I also do voting for movies. That's at Ship Bandicoot Clips. We have a TikTok. Just look it up. And last but not least, don't forget our Twitch. Make sure to check out Sam K on YouTube. Does some phenomenal sketch work over there. Real cinematic masterpieces. I highly recommend you check those out. And of course, Joshua Hickey's movie reviews. He's still going strong. Check him out. Give him some love. Yeah, I don't really know how to end this anymore.
And just like that, I left everything. I dropped out of high school. See ya! I said goodbye to my girlfriend. Playa! And I left my family. Playa!